Yo.
What up? What up?
What up, bro?
Dude, episode 91, man. We still going, people.
We still going. We still
We
here.
racing to the 100.
Let's go. About 2 more months. 2 more months. Let's go.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Carbon Footprint Podcast. He is Juan and I'm Sean. And every week we get together, have a few drinks, talk about things going on in the world, try to focus on things making an impact, whether they be good, bad, or otherwise. And this week, we got something special for y'all today, especially if you got a little sweet tooth. Hit him with it.
I didn't think of a name for this. And it's like partially inspired by different verb variations. I don't know, man. We might just have to. I feel like we did Carbon Footprint Lemonade already once. I got to go back and I should know this.
I swear we need to go back and...
We need to go back and you talked about this last week about archiving the drinks. We need to do this.
Do it, bro.
But anyway, I don't know, man. We'll call it the Carbon Footprint Gin Lemonade for now because that's all I can think about. But it's basically a shot of botanical gin. That has to be very specific. It has to be botanical. So either do Empress. We did this. Is it the Opium from Hendrix?
Be intentional, people.
The Opium. Yeah.
Yes.
Don't do
Orbium.
Orbium. Sorry, Orbium from Hendrix. You could do regular Hendrix works or even the Midsummer from Hendrix that works. Don't do like a London dry gin or any of the dry gins really, or the American gins like Aviation. It has to be botanical because it's the flowery taste that goes with that rosemary, I feel like. So anyway, so it's a shot of that, a shot of Control.
I thought it was half a shot of Control, no?
It was half. Yeah, you're right. So shot of gin, half a shot of Control, and then or any orange liqueur that just happens to be the one that we kind of use here all the time, and top it off with lemonade. And then we garnish with we did a rosemary and lime. The rosemary is probably just fine, but the lime, if you like the citrusy, which we tend to like here, man. So
yeah, lime makes everything better.
It does, bro. I've never put lime in anything and it didn't work. So let's throw a lime in it for kicks and giggles.
Just throw a lime in it,
but it's good, man. It's so we're gonna call it CFP Gin Lemonade, man. That's what we calling this.
All right, man. That's good. That's good, bro. All right, man. Yo, I'm gonna hit you up for my Carbon Footprint of the week.
Let's do it.
It's going out to Hope Chicago, in a nonprofit, obviously in Chicago, led by former Chicago Public School CEO Dr. Janice Jackson. What they are doing is they have pulled out like 5 high schools in Chicago, and they are sending 4,000 kids from those 5 high schools to college, fully paid.
Wow.
Room, board, books, taxes, the whole shebang.
Wow.
And it was a really cool story, man, because you could see, they sort of they brought the kids, and I don't think it was every kid in those schools. Matter of fact, I know my kid goes to a high school where there's like 2,000 students.
Okay.
So for 5 high schools, 4,000 students, I'm assuming they picked the ones that the kids that they thought would do well in college.
But is it every year? Because that's a senior graduating class at each one of 1,000.
Oh, I didn't think about that. That's true.
I mean, if it's every year, that's doable.
Could be.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah, they very well could be.
Yeah.
But they brought these kids into the auditorium and sort of announced it, and you could just see, man, the kids sort of super excited, man, tears. They had interviewed some of the kids like beforehand. And, just asking them like, yo, like, do you have college aspirations? And, the ones they interviewed said, oh, yeah, absolutely. But, like, I know I'm not going. Like, I don't have my family doesn't have the means.
Afford it.
Yeah, they don't have the means for it.
Isn't that crazy, bro?
It seems nuts, but, it's obviously more common than, we're all in our own worlds, right?
Yeah.
And so I think that we falsely believe that whatever we have or whatever means we have to do things, that's normal. And I think that's at every level. I think we've seen guys and girls that make, way more money than we do, and their heads are also in the clouds.
Yeah.
Well, they think that everybody lives like them, and it's just not the case.
You're right, man. I checked myself recently on something where I went, oh, shit, that's normal for me.
Right.
Or for my circle, like for us.
Right.
It's not normal for everybody. You're so right. It's easy to lose sight of that kind of stuff, man.
Very much
I
so.
think with education, though, it's sad that you have to go, like, I want to go, but I can't afford it. because I almost look at it as, if you really want to go, you know, you can get a student loan, you can do all that. To me, it's one of those, like, figure that out later, then just get the education now that you feel like you need, and then let all that, just make sure you don't waste it, because you know people who go to school and just waste, like for me, I would have just been wasting money because I changed my major so many times. I would have been drowning in student, like, loan debt for the rest of my life. But I think if you're convicted in something, and I don't know, man, I feel like that's the route to go. But obviously, some people just go, like, because they grew up with this mindset. I don't want to call it poverty mindset, but I don't really have a better word.
That's probably it, bro.
Yeah, so they
which
think,
which, by the way, we know people that are like that.
Yeah,
even in our circles.
I think
right?
we're guilty of using poverty mindsets as excuses sometimes for things, to not do something, right? But yeah, anyway, like, it sucks to me that, like, I go, like, that's, education should be one of those things where you just gotta figure that out. But obviously, it's a worry, man, because you're gonna have to pay for it, right? Like, in some way, shape, or fashion. So that's awesome, man, that these guys are doing that, dude. That's
and so to go along with that, they're also sending, because they feel like this should be sort of generational. They're also going to pay for one parent to also go to college.
What?
Yeah, bro.
That's awesome, man.
So I thought that was
That's
just
really,
like amazing.
How do they fund this program?
So that I'm glad you asked that question, bro, because there is a guy who's one of the major contributors, or I think the major contributor is guy's name is Pete Caden.
Okay.
The guy owns several businesses. Did some research on him, and a few years ago, he actually did this in Toledo, Ohio.
Okay.
Where he did the exact same thing, where he sent, he kind of went in, and I don't know if it was one school or many schools, but basically he sort of started it out like that, where he went in and was like, I'm going to pay for all of you guys to go to college. Oh, and by the way, pick one of your parents. I'm going to send them as well.
Wow, man.
So he's
so
expanded cool. to Chicago, and I think he has businesses in Chicago as well. But to do this for these kids, so shout out to, like I said, not only to Hope Chicago, but to Pete Caden, somebody who grew up, and they interviewed him, and he grew up a sort of with a privileged life. And he said, he goes, yo, like, I know that if not for my parents and my skin color, like, he's a white guy, but like my parents, my skin color, and the things that I was exposed to, right? If not for all of that, I wouldn't be where I am now. And so I'm trying to pull other people up who didn't have that kind of exposure.
Yeah, dude, it's so cool that he's sort of self-aware enough to know that he has access to. Because how many times do we even talk about, like, we were talking off the air before about, like, you talk about trusts or wills or like and just exposure, or talking to people, being around people who maybe choose one route or another, and then just having that information is something that most of us don't know. It's not even we can't afford it thing. It's like we don't have the knowledge. We don't even know. Yeah. So it's cool that he recognizes that, like, hey, I have this, and maybe school is the leg up for the no. Right. At least to an extent, right? It's not all of it, but it's sort of a push in the right direction. I don't think I want to say the guy's name, but locally here, man, I'm on the board of a nonprofit, and we have a local guy who owns apartment buildings.
Okay.
And he sort of noticed that in his apartment building, a lot of the youth would, and some of them are in sort of, I would say, lower income areas. And so he said, a lot of these kids just hang around the apartment complex, and, some of them get into trouble. They do stupid shit. And some of them are just hanging outside. Like, they might hang in the pool, but they just don't have anything to do. And their parents are either working or doing whatever. And I thought it was cool, man. He not only donated to the organization that I'm on the board of, but he donated, he paid for memberships for all of these kids and parents if they wanted. And then he also, because another thing that...
To do what? To
go there and have something to do.
Okay.
And something to do meant either they can play sports, they can work out, they can there was access to computers so they can do homework. But what I thought was neat is that a lot of these kids didn't even have a ride. He paid a transportation company every day. Hey, at this time, this van is leaving this apartment complex and it's going here. And then it's picking you up and it's taking you back to the apartment complex at this time. So he removed like everything, dude. And it was so cool because, like, he thought of that, and on his own he went, but what about this? It's like, well, I'll take care of that. I'll hire a van company. It's like,
Right.
okay, what about this? And then like it was cool to see someone who wasn't like, obviously he owns these properties and he goes, I don't want these kids fucking up my property. Like I know there's part of that, but the other part of him went like, okay, I don't want to just give these kids memberships, or I don't want to just give these kids something to do during this time. Like, how else can I contribute? And he was always one of those, and he was a major donor, like to the point where he almost met the organization's goals for the year on his own.
On his own.
And he's a local guy, dude. Someone people have never heard of, who
That's
just
awesome,
happened to
dude.
do really well and invested. And it's cool to see people like that with that kind of perspective and realizing that their access and their knowledge has sort of given them a head start, or not even a head start, just a leg up, I guess, or be able to make better decisions along the way. So.
Yeah, man.
Shout
I
out
think
to you
I think I think exposure is not everything, but it's a lot of it, right? Like, if you just don't know, like I talked to somebody recently where I was like, oh man, like you should start like investing in whatever it is. Let's just say it was stocks, and it's just like, oh, I don't know how to do that, or I've got on these websites and it just seems like they ask for too much information, and it's just like sort of like that getting started. It was where you can show somebody to go, hey, look, like, I don't know, download Robinhood and just start, right? Like throw $20 in there, throw $100 in there, whatever you can, like just start.
Yeah. Like I always tell people, like, buy something and something you like.
That you like.
Yeah.
Yep.
Just start. Like you said, throw $20 at something you like and then go from there. Like, see, you'll catch the bug or you won't. Like some people usually catch it. I do even I would say, like, from a knowledge perspective, like, I use you all the time, right? Like you have a set of knowledge that to you is probably normalized. Like you don't think about it. But to me, I go like, I think recently, even for work wise, I was like, hey, like, what do you do for this or that? And so like, even knowing that, like that was super helpful to me, for me to take back to sort of, with like the work that I'm doing, and people are like, oh shit, like I didn't know that, like I'm gonna use this, and it's so funny, man, because I think it's things like that we take for granted, like just because they're normal to us, but it doesn't always have to
everybody
be.
knows.
We think everybody knows, man, and I have to remind myself of that all the time, because somebody will ask me something and I'm like, huh, and I'll give them the answer, but then I'm going like, oh yeah, it's normal to me, but
Right.
It obviously, like, there's stuff that they know that I'm like, how do you know that? It's very normal to them, and so
Right.
I think, just like you said, man, knowledge, dude, takes you just to so many places, because like that question that I asked you, like within the last week, led to us doing something else, like with some of the things that I'm doing, that's gonna like launch us forward, or just set up relationships that people didn't even know were possible. And so like I always think, like, man, everybody has like a piece, man, that if we just ask a question, or if we are just willing to give out that information, man, like you could sort of help people just on anything, man.
Yeah,
It's just wild.
It's funny you say that, because when I answered you, it was literally like a 10-second, like, oh, yep, we use this. And then I put the phone down and kept doing what I was doing. And like you said, it's normal to us, and we don't think that the information is valuable.
No, man. And for me, I would say potentially organizationally changing, like, and it's stuff like that where you go like, I'm like, man, like I wouldn't have thought of that, because I get questions like that all the time, and I just go, like you said, I just answer really quick and I put it down, and then someone like 3 months later will tell me something like, yeah, we used the person that you said, or we used the software that you said, or we looked at this thing or whatever, and then like and I'm like, huh, that's kind of cool, like I didn't think about that, but like to me it was so normal that they go like, yeah, we never touched any of this, and so you kind of just pushed us in the right direction, which led to all this other stuff, and I'm like, all right, cool, man. But like, not to get too far away from this, but it's just the whole education thing and the knowledge thing. Like education to me, I always look at it as doesn't always have to be academia in terms of school.
No, it doesn't.
It can just be the sharing of information amongst each other, and sometimes it's as simple as asking the question, or just being willing to give the answer. Like so many people are sort of protective,
man. Yeah, that's true, man. And that's what. So I want to use that to encourage everybody out there that's listening. Like if you have information, like make sure you're sharing that information. That if you've done well with something with your inner circles, because you never know who you could help. A lot of us just don't know. Like I said, if we don't have the exposure, we just never know.
Yeah, there's enough food for all of us, man.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And a lot of times things seem harder than what they are. You just got to kind of get your feet wet, or you got somebody, if you have somebody that's already done it, they can kind of give you the blueprint to go and do the same thing. Will you have the same results? Maybe, maybe not. Maybe you'll be better. Maybe you'll be worse. Maybe you'll be the same. but you have the blueprint.
Yeah, dude, it's something as we were talking about this the other day. Is I think we were talking about the whole like making your bed first thing in the morning. It seems sort of like a waste, I think on the surface when you go just make your bed. It's like, why? Like, I just want to walk out of my house. I'm gonna rush. I'm do whatever. But like that small victory, and people don't look at it that way. But it sort of snowballs into a sense of feeling productive out of the gate, like mentally. Like so much of this is mental. Like I said, like just these little things that just snowball into something bigger are like so huge, man. Like in the grand scheme of things, like because like you said, just try something. Like just do it. Just do the one thing. Knock out the one small. Like just check a box and then go from there. Yeah, man. Shout out. Is there a way to donate to these guys? Like, what do they do? Like,
Crap, I don't know. The company is Hope Chicago. I'm anxious to see if there's other organizations like that. Even locally, I would encourage people to go look locally in your own markets. There's probably other organizations like this that are doing similar things. But this is Hope Chicago. So if you're a Chicago native or somebody around there, you want to donate to those guys, you can. Like I said, shout out to those guys, and also Pete Caden, who's already been doing this and is now doing it for Hope Chicago as well.
That's awesome, man. Isn't LeBron's school, it does something similar, right? Like LeBron's I Promise, the private school. I think you're guaranteed into one of the universities that
guaranteed in the NBA.
Yeah, imagine.
But you know what? So there's like 20. There's also part of this thing is like you can't just go to any school. There's 20 participating colleges.
Yeah, okay. Makes sense.
Within the Illinois, area.
Yeah, partnerships that they've set up probably with these schools. Yeah.
But like one of them is like University of Illinois, which is it's a big university.
It's a big university. Yeah, it's a state school.
And then they have a goal. Their goal is to raise $1 billion.
Wow.
And send they want to send 24,000 students and 6,000 parents to school. So that's their goal. If they keep going like this, they'll get there in no time. But I guess, you got to have the initial goal to shoot for, man.
$1 billion, man. Like, that's like, ask Elon. Elon got it.
He sells some stock.
Yeah. That's awesome, man. I love, dude, like, just seeing people, like, as much of an asshole as I could be about a lot of stuff, there is something about, like, people sort of willing to help people. I'm always like, that's cool, man. Because, like, again, man, just going back to the information thing before, like, you never know how much you can change someone's life with something. Dude, think about some of these kids who didn't even think it was a possibility to go to school, like you said, because they couldn't afford it. And then and generationally, maybe they're looking at their parents and their parents, and they're going like, man, I'm never getting out of this neighborhood or getting out of doing this. And listen, some of them are okay with that, and that's okay too. Like, if whatever, whether it's the neighborhood or the trade or whatever, there's nothing wrong with that. But I think if you feel stuck in that and this gives you sort of the outlet, then that, that's awesome, man. And it just took someone like thinking of an idea and wanting to be helpful and sort of like, I don't know, I guess put a foot forward. Because, dude, how many of us have the ability to say, yeah, you know what, I want to raise money for whatever cause, and you just start reaching out to your network? You'd be shocked at how quickly
people want to give,
raise
bro.
People do, man. Dude, I think about the many times I've said no to something, whether it's $5 for whatever or $1 for this and that. It's not many, bro. I get guilted into the fucking St. Jude's kids at Walgreens or at everything all the time.
At Publix, they be like, you want to give $1 to the sick, to the lepers?
Who says no to sick lepers, bro? Bro, I'm pretty sure I should own a wing at St. Jude's at this point. I get guilted into that shit all the time because it involves kids. I'm like, fuck, I got to give money. I can't be an asshole. And then you go, what's appropriate? Like,
they got that picture of a bald kid on there, man.
Yeah, bro.
Like,
yo, I hate the fucking cashiers who be like, how much? And everybody's looking at you and you're like, motherfucker, bro.
$1.50.
Yeah. Nah, bro, I'm gonna be
they look at you wrong, and I be like, well, if your damn prices was low, I could give more.
Bro, what I do is I look around me, and if they look dumb and I feel like I can get away with it, I just be like, round up to the nearest dollar. Because they got to do math real quick.
And be like, round up. That shit sounds like a lot.
That shit is crazy, bro. I'm like, damn it. But dude, many of us won't say no. Like,
No.
we won't, man. We won't. I can think of very few times where someone's asked for something and I didn't think it was a scammer. Where I was like, yeah, like one, like we won't. Like even if it's like you said, if it's $1, if it's $2, if it's $5, if it's
Yeah.
100, like we're like, yeah, like why not?
And you have those places that go like, oh, do you want to round up to the nearest dollar? And it's the answer is always yes.
Which I think is genius. That part I think is genius, the
Yeah.
rounding up, because you go, most of us have already rounded up in our head anyway when we spend money, right? Right. So like that part is genius, dude. I also fall into the trap of the GoFundMe's, so now I just don't read them. If I see, I fucking hate it, bro. I'm too like
They're just
sensitive,
taking
bro.
your money now.
I'm too sensitive, bro. I be reading them, and if it's someone you know, and even if they're doing it on behalf of someone, they always get you with the fucking sap story. And I'm like, God damn it, I'm gonna give this guy $50. I don't know him. I never met him. I'm like, I'll be looking at the goal, and it'd be like the goal's $200, and I'm like, really, bro? The goal's $200? Like, damn, bro. Like, all right,
See, in that case, man, you give it 20, and you good to go.
10% of the way there, bro.
Yep.
Yeah, man. I've done that where I'm like, so now I just stay away. I see some GoFundMe, I'm like, scroll. And if there's a picture, I
like,
scroll even quicker, bro. I know.
Unfriend.
Mute post notification. Like, fuck that. I'm like, ooh, you sound like it's gonna be an expensive week. It's gonna get shit, man.
All right, man. What you got?
You know, it's been a pretty uneventful week in the world. So I'm gonna bro, actually, man, my guy or my carbon footprint, man, and I struggled because obviously, you know, we talk about this show and it can be people, it can be events, it can be things that sort of just shape humanity or just shape the world or shape your community or whatever it is, like. But I just dude, I had to pick Volodymyr Zelensky, who's the sitting president of the Ukraine.
The
right now.
comedian?
The comedian, bro. Like the comedian. And that's, I also have a soft spot for the comedian, bro. So I'm like, I gave it to him, man, because obviously, unless you live under a rock, you know, Russia has invaded or whatever, military operations, whatever they want to call it, into the Ukraine. They're blowing shit up in Ukraine. So, this guy, man, as I watch him sort of give his like press briefings and give stuff, I'm so impressed by one, dude. The whole like where America's like, yo, you need to get the fuck out of there because they're gonna kill you.
die, right?
Yeah, and he's like, nah. I'm like, bro, it got me thinking of what, dude. Okay, so that's a suicide mission in essence. You're going, no, I'm choosing to stay here, and he's going, I'm staying here to fight. But in all reality, you're probably staying there to die, right? Because you're outnumbered, outgunned, out whatever, like, right? And so you go. I just kept thinking of that and going, dude, you have you have kids, you have a wife, you have a family, like no one's gonna blame you for going like for leaving. I don't know, I wouldn't, right? Like no one's gonna blame you for leaving. Maybe your people are gonna be upset who are sitting there fighting for you. But to think of like, yo, what would you be that sort of passionate about that you're willing to stick around and die for? And there's not going to be an upside. Like if you're going to die and you know, hey, my kids are going to get to grow up on this land that I'm very passionate about. But like, if you think about it, bro, if he stays there and he dies, Russia wins, right? Like they take over the thing. It was all in vain at the end of the day, right? It's all for pride. It's all ego. If you think about like if you stay and you die there, you did it on ego.
I don't know, bro, because if you have, it's one thing if you retreat and then you go to your, let's just say, we'll say to your military and you go, hey guys, this is a losing battle. I don't want you to fight anymore. I don't want anybody to die. We all need to pull back, right? But if you just go, all right, guys, like, yeah, go fight, and then I haul ass.
Yeah.
Like, no, you can't do that, bro.
I think
as a leader, you can't.
Of course not. But how many people are actually willing to, like, bro? It's one thing to say that when your feet aren't to the fire, right? Like, but to me, dude, when you're in this scenario and you go, yeah, there's a very like, bro, one of his speeches where he tells the sort of, not the transcript, but the rumors sort of behind it, the leak, because it was sort of behind closed doors to the rest of the world leaders. Basically, it was like a call that they had, and he basically tells them like, hey guys, like this is probably the last time you're gonna see me alive. Like, cool, it's been a pleasure working with you, kind of thing. I'm like, wow, bro, like to go into that knowing that. And still staying around, and I know there's a lot of people in the Ukraine, so I don't want to. I know there's, you know, like we've heard of like celebrities like the Klitschko brothers and all that who are sticking around to fight, and obviously citizens. But to be the president of a country and be willing to sort of like stay there and fight and die and all that. And then the more that comes out about him, obviously this is throwing him into the spotlight, and so you sort of go down the rabbit hole and start reading about him. Like, man, this guy is like, dude, he's like Trump with the sort of, I would say, not as combative personality. Yeah, I guess that would be a way to say it, man, because he's the anti-establishment guy. He's a former celebrity, right? If you don't know, like, he was a comedian, he was an actor, he did a lot of comedy movies, a lot of TV shows, very popular in the Ukraine.
Yep.
Actually graduated from law school before he became an actor, so, you know, did dab and then decided that the acting thing was the passion. Like, he's actually, the thing I thought was kind of like the romantic in his whole thing was he's actually Russian speaking first. So he's from the region of the Ukraine that is actually Russian speaking. Okay. And so he does have
Do they have their own language?
Yeah, they have I think it's Ukrainian, or I don't know what they call it. Honestly, I'd be ignorant.
You know, I just like my ignorance, right? I thought like the USSR, like they all spoke Russian.
There is regions, so I'm learning now. It's like there's regions, and then there's I think they have their own language, which I don't. I'm gonna say Ukrainian, but I feel like that's probably gonna be ignorant. But there are regions within the Ukraine where Russia is the language, and then there are regions where it's not.
Okay.
So he is from the region in the Ukraine where Russia is the main language. So that was his first language. That's what he grew up knowing. That's what he spoke. And he's fluent. And I think it says he's fluent in Ukrainian. So it must be in language, because it says he's fluent in Ukrainian, Russian, and English. So he speaks English. And, yeah, man, like, dude, I just kept looking at this guy and watching the press conferences, and I go, man, dude, if you're the people of the Ukraine and that's your leader, you're probably feeling pretty good right now
about fighting.
Absolutely. Yeah. You're like, yeah, fuck it, man. This guy can leave right now. This guy's got a couple $1 million in the bank, I'm sure. He's got a thing. Like, he's got something to live for. And he's like, nah, bro. Like, I may die fighting for this land, and they may get it anyway, but I'm still willing to go down that route. Like, there's something inspiring about that, bro. And I started thinking about, like, what do I like that much? Bro, to be honest with you, dude, think about if we were having neighboring wars between neighborhoods, and you're like the fucking neighborhood a mile down the road rolled a tank into my neighborhood to take over, I'm gonna let them have it, bro. Like, there's like, I'd be like, why? Like, and maybe my personality is just the
but what if that tank is I don't know, and no offense to anyone, right? But what if, you know, like, we'll just leave it in this context. What if that's a Russian tank and it's rolling in here? You're not picking up a gun to fight?
Here's the thing, bro, is that my first thought process, and again, maybe it changes in that scenario, like in the heat of the moment, but I'm almost always going, before I get into conflict, it's like, okay, what's going to be the end results of this? And if the end result of this isn't going to push things forward, like the end result of something like that is either I'm dead or they're dead. So if I go, am I willing to die to be here? Or could I just as easily live in Canada? I'm out, bro. Like,
dude, if the U.S. is taking over, bye-bye Canada.
Yeah, I mean.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure.
And so, I mean, I feel a little differently, because I go, if it's your country and you have pride in your country, and this is where you live, and then a foreign invader comes in, like, yeah, like I'm with the country dudes that I'm grabbing the rifle and let's go.
And and I think also too, the sort of the moment changes, right? Like, if you're being invaded by a country where you feel like you have a fighting chance, or if I feel like all of my neighbors are going and I'm like, yo, we got a shot. I feel like when I'm looking at the Ukraine, though, it's like the David and Goliath thing, or the, you know, and
it very much is,
and David won, right? So it's probably a shitty example, but I guess what I'm trying to say is it's the impossible scenario where you're going, yo, I'm fighting in vain because I'm gonna die, and so really I'm fighting for ego, because I'm not gonna let you just take this, but there's nothing for me to gain, and so like I always think.
So do you just flee? So does the whole? I mean, like, if you think about the scenarios, does the whole country just go, all right, fuck it, let them have it? We have, because there have been countries, right? And I think the U.S. is one of them. I don't know for a fact, but I know like Ireland was one of them, where they were just like, yo, refugees, come.
Yeah.
Because we know what this is like.
Come like, here. Yeah.
Right. So there's countries willing to take the refugees. On. Right. So does the whole country just flee and just go, all right, yeah, you can have the land.
Well, I mean, I think they won't, right? Because they're
No,
gonna
but
fight
I'm
for
saying,
that.
so
Yeah,
like, but in your scenario, right? If everybody thought like what you just said in that scenario, where you just go like, fuck it, you could have it. Does the whole country just evacuate?
But it's what's happened, right? Historically, like if you think of history, bro, it's like the only thing that didn't happen was, the hey, you can have it, but the bloodshed was there and they won anyway. I guess is my point. It's like if you look at, dude, the United States, we came in here and we're like, we took every state. And then we were talking about this the other day. And then we took Texas and we took New Mexico and we took Arizona and we took California from Mexico.
Yep.
And we're like, yeah, that shit's ours now. And we bullied them. And you go, history tells us the bigger
them,
one.
by the way.
We did, but it's not like we said
after the fact.
we didn't negotiate that, bro. We just went, yo, we'll give you this for your troubles. Like, go away. We gave him like $100K, and we're like, yeah, or whatever. It was like $1 million or something.
No, then they gave him like 10 million.
Did they? Yeah,
$10
that's a hell of a deal for all of California. But like, I think when I look at that, like to your point, I'm going, history has shown us that the fleeing part didn't happen, but the result was the same. And so, like, I think when I look at that, I go, yeah, man, I'm so inspired by the pride and the, I guess, willingness to fight for something that you believe in to that extent. And maybe it's because I'm an American and I'm spoiled and I've never been in a scenario where my freedoms were sort of threatened and all that. And so I take that for granted. You know, he's grown up in the Ukraine where obviously there's been this sort of roller coaster of what regime has been in power and all. And so,
which is what, it's like the last 30 years.
It's right. 30 years.
They're about 30 years old.
And the regime before him wasn't necessarily very progressive and very forward thinking. And so he's sort of come in and has been very like, hey, pro rights for people and pro gays and pro everything, like everything that you would, I guess, if you're left leaning, so to speak, from a social perspective, he's been sort of pro that and pro capitalism. Like, hey, man, we want to do things on our own and we want to be able to build things here. And so, and he's put a lot of effort into doing that, which, by the way, dude, this guy was also the guy on the phone call with Trump. I don't know if you remember Trump got impeached not because of this guy, but Trump was ultimately impeached because of the conversation that he had about bullying this guy in terms of there was aid, I think it was $400 million that was supposed to go to the Ukraine. And Trump was like, nah, I'm not paying you unless you come forward and say something about Biden, Hunter Biden, because he was appointed on the board of that oil company that was based in Ukraine. Like, there's all these layers. Right. But anyway, this is the same president who at the time was like, dude, to his credit, kind of looking back, he went, nah, Trump never bullied me, but he was sort of like, yo, man, I don't want to get involved. His quote at the time was, I don't want to get involved in an international election or in a foreign country's election. Right. And if I say something right now, it's going to sway the voters. Like, I'm out. Like, nah, man, Trump was cool. Like, we was fine. Like, everything's good. I'm sure part of that is like, yo, I want that 400 mil. But then also, like, he's going like, dude,
he had morals.
Exactly. And so, yeah, man, I just going back to before, like, I kept thinking about, like, is there something that I'm so passionate about that I love enough to be willing to die for in terms of real estate? Like, because history has shown me that I'm not going to win that battle, right? Like, if England's coming into my country and I'm in the 1500s or 1600s or 1700s or 1800s, England's going to win, bro. Like,
except in
17, America, motherfucker.
Except in 1775.
Take that, red coat. So like, bro, like, so I think having that, I guess knowing that or having that in the back of my mind, I'm going, okay, I'm just here to die. It's a suicide mission. So am I willing to die for pride, for ego, or for it being symbolic, maybe to my people? I don't know. Like, I don't know how far you think that through, because again, history tells me I'm not gonna win this
in most cases. But when you look at America, like, that's how America was formed, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, they fought the bully and they won, so it can be done.
Sure. And in America is probably like the greatest example of that of all time. I guess you could argue like the Greeks had some prominent battles, but like,
yeah, I mean, look at like I mean, I know that the movie 300 is not 100% accurate.
No, but yeah, it's based on.
It's based on truth.
But America had strength in numbers, though, right? Like they may not have been here, but they did sort of recruit like the natives to fight with them and all that. Like,
yeah, but I mean, even that, like, they didn't all fight with them.
And then
You
they're
know what I
dealing-
mean?
and then they're dealing-
Actually, man, the British also employed the
Yeah,
Native
yeah.
Americans to fight against the Americans, because they were like, yo, like, they keep pushing you guys out, help us defeat them, and then we'll give you, we'll let you guys be.
yeah, I would say too. The at that time, it's like you're the British. You're like you can only send so many at a time in a ship. Where if you're America, you're like, okay, we have to prepare for this in waves that come every few months or weeks or whatever. Like now you're going like, yo, this shit's gonna be here in 5 minutes. Like, are you ready to take wave after wave after wave after wave after missile after missile?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely different.
Dude,
now.
and actually, man, we don't even have to go that far, bro. World War II, if you look back to World War I, America's army was in the hundreds of thousands, I think. And then by World War II, we had to scale up into the millions because, as far as size is concerned, because it's funny, man, they don't teach us World War I in school, right? Because we fucking lost. So I guess in the grand scheme of things, we weren't victorious in that war because that shit taught us something that we went, oh, we better get our shit together. And we built up this army 20 years later. We're fighting World War II.
Ooh, sounds like Russia.
Exactly, man, and we tripled the size,
like
and
Russia,
we went like very pro nation and like so, yeah, man. Looking at this, I'm going, fuck, man, that's brave as shit because I feel like you're signing up to just get to die, and potentially it be in vain. I feel like if I knew I was gonna die, but like my kids got to have this, my family got to take, like I feel like there's something in knowing that you're willing to die for that.
You
cause.
just don't know, though.
You don't, but I feel like you do. Like if you're him, you got to know, like, yo, if they make it as far as like they're killing me, it's probably fucking over. Because I think in this scenario, if you kill the head of state, you sort of kill the morale, right? Like if you kill the president of the United States, like there's something that happens maybe here because our army's so big and powerful to an extent, like because we invest so much in it, like maybe not. But if you're a country like the Ukraine, that size, and army that's small, like your morale lives and dies with this guy right now. I feel like there has to be no one in the world who has more pressure than this guy, or no pressure. Maybe because he's like, fuck, I'm in a situation I'm supposed to lose in. Yeah, maybe there's none. But you like an entire country potentially right now crumbles, or like comes out on the other side of this victorious, or I don't even know what I don't even do you win? How does this work? I don't know. How does this work?
Did you see the photograph of him in like the fatigues with the vest and everything?
Yeah,
Did you see that shit was from last year,
bro? Was it?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought it was. So it's not even a recent.
It's not.
They're just
recent.
trying to use photographs.
Dude, so that's the
you
other
figure
thing.
this guy's got to be in hiding though, right? Like
I don't know what he was doing.
Yeah.
I don't want to.
Not in hiding, but I guess you don't want to take pictures right now if you're that guy, right? Like.
But I just saw like there's so much misinformation out there right
Yeah.
now, and like that was one of them. I saw that picture circulating like on LinkedIn, and the first time I saw it, I was like, oh man, that's fucking super honorable, right? If you're a soldier in Ukraine and you see this dude come out with a flak jacket and fatigues on, you're going like, oh yeah, like let's go, right? But then it turns out that picture is not. That picture was from like last April or some shit.
I don't know, bro. I seen him in a V-neck and jeans, and I was just as impressed. I was like, all right, bro. You ready for war?
But there is, man. There's so much misinformation out there. But yo, I'm kudos to the world for like not only condemning this, but actually hitting them where it hurts, right? So I know that their currency has like crumbled with regards to its value. And it was like even the stuff that probably that I go like it doesn't really matter, but it really does financially. Like the NHL said we're not playing games there. FIFA pulled them out from playing in the soccer tournaments. Switzerland, who always stays neutral.
They're the neutral part. Yeah, it's the running.
Switzerland
kind of
is always neutral, bro, and they've got in it and frozen their assets.
Yeah.
We've frozen their assets on this side. I know we're
Formula One pulled out of the race.
That's right.
The
Formula
World Cup.
One.
You already said the World Cup, I think,
Yep.
right? Yeah, pulled out. Yeah, I mean,
the whole like Swift thing, which I go like they were gonna do it. Can you talk about that? Do you know anything about the Swift
Yeah,
thing?
so I think the Swift. It's funny, man, because I was thinking last
That's
week.
banking, right?
Yeah, it's banking, and so last week I was gonna talk about like sort of the financial implications of this whole thing because obviously, first of all I was wrong. I never thought Russia would do this, bro. But, like I was one. I think I even told you like, bro, nothing's gonna happen. It's gonna be these back channel things. And I remember the first morning where they're like, nah, and there was like missiles going on. I was like, holy shit, they did it. Like, so I was shocked. But from my thought the first couple of days was monetarily just because of what I do. I just thought more of the money wise. The Swift thing has to do with so if you send a wire transfer through the banks right now, right? Like if I send a wire to you, the Swift is the system that communicates from bank to bank, and it's sort of the adopted tool worldwide, right? And then all it is, honestly, I guess in layman's terms, it's like sending a fax or a text or an email, right? The Swift just tells my bank. It goes from my bank and it tells your bank, hey, Juan sent you $10. You can go ahead and put that money because the money doesn't actually move, right? Like money actually moves overnight or weekly or whatever. There's batches that money gets sent in and that aren't like at the time that I hit send on a wire transfer.
But
right?
from the individual basis, I can get it now.
Exactly, because the Swift just tells this bank and it's secure.
That it's legit.
Yeah, it's legit, right? Yeah. It's like these, and so without getting too far down a rabbit hole, it's basically a communication system between banks to say, hey, this is legit. So and so has money coming. He has the money. It's gonna hit this account, blah, and then that bank knows to make it available in your account. What that does is if Russia can't do that, obviously, if they have assets overseas, they can't bring it back. If they have debts and all that stuff that they pay, they can't pay out. If they have anything that they're sort of, I guess from a trade perspective, that they're buying from other countries, they can't get. But more importantly, I think, it doesn't let them bring money back in. And it doesn't let their powerful people get their money in or out, right? Like, so if you cut them off of Swift, there's no way to move money between banks, right? So if they have money in a Swiss bank account, and Swiss uses a Swift system, there's no way. You have to go there and physically withdraw money and then get on a plane back to Russia, right? Like that would be, so you have to sit there and go like bank to bank and basically take out money.
But in this scenario where the Swiss froze their assets, I don't even care if you even go there. It's on lock.
Nah, you can't. Yeah, because they're using sort of these laws of where you can freeze assets if they feel like you're a criminal in international war or whatever, so they can freeze that. The reason I always thought like we wouldn't freeze the whole Swift thing is because that has implications from an economic perspective worldwide. If you like, Russia obviously is a big player in the world economy, and so they have assets and they have debts and they have all kinds of things worldwide, right? And so those things are based on they're valued against the US dollar because the US dollar has sort of is the currency that everything is measured against in the world, right? Like as far as value is concerned, right? The US dollar is sort of the measuring stick. If you say, hey, you guys can no longer do this, Russia isn't just going to go, oh man, I can't get my money. They're going to go find other ways, right? One of the ways you can do that is crypto. So now you take this whole crypto economy and you go worked out really well for them. Or they go to China, who's cool with them, and they go, hey, we're going to sort of value all of our debt or our trade in yuan and so in Chinese currency, and then you go, by doing that, it sort of raises the value of sort of the Chinese. And I don't want to get too technical, but essentially what it does is because China is such a big player in the world marketplace, it sort of gives China leverage now that their currency could potentially become the world dominated currency.
Gotcha.
I guess, and to keep a long story short. And so it takes the hegemony of the dollar, which is like its dominance over sort of the world economy and drops it down a little bit.
That.
Yes. Yep. So this is why like why we haven't done it. Like I love how we're like, oh, we're thinking about doing it. And they're like, why wouldn't you just cut them off from that? The reason you won't is because it has all these implications that could potentially harm the dollar long term and the euro. So Europe and the US are like, yo, all of our debts and all of this stuff, everything we do, all the sort of like intercompany relationships that we have and agreements we have are all based on this value, based on a dollar or based on a euro. This potentially goes to shit. Like it cripples the value of that because they have this plan. Like if China wasn't in the equation, you're okay. Because then they would go to crypto, and the crypto market isn't dominant enough now to sort of like cripple you from that perspective.
Right.
But this is why these guys are sort of like, yeah, we're thinking about it, but we're not going to do it. It's self-serving, right? It's not. We're sort of looking out for our own self-interest, so it isn't necessarily. And so what I suspect is what's happening is there's people moving assets in the background, and then eventually we'll go, yeah, we'll do it when we feel like there's been enough moved that we go, it isn't going to be crippling for sort of the people in cahoots, right? Like for the Europe and for US and whatever. And we'll eventually go, yeah, now they're out of the SWIFT system because we're sort of in the background moving all kinds of things or making things happen that, because if I get into the technicality of this, we're going to go 4 hours. So
don't do that. Don't do that.
so yeah. So anyway,
Keep it simple.
so that's why we haven't cut them out of that. But, dude, my initial thought was, hey, these, not only has Russia hurt themselves by doing this, by attacking the Ukraine, because you go, at the end of the day, the victory here is, yes, you get this country or whatever. I guess that's what the end goal is, right? They want to take
land,
over.
right?
Yeah, the land, and you take this over. If you're cut out from every other economic marketplace other than China, maybe China provides them enough in terms of they'll buy enough of their oil and they can get enough stuff from China as far as trade is concerned that they don't care. But it cripples their economy. I mean, you've named all these people now who've already pulled out of doing things. If you're a Russian oligarch or you're a businessman of any capacity in Russia, who, like, you're basically going to be blackballed from anywhere else in the world. And then, dude, the world economy suffers because if Russia's a big sort of exporter, obviously gas, right? So gas prices are getting ready to hit.
Gas and oil.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah. So oil's getting ready to hit, it's over $100 a barrel, I think.
Open the reserves.
Yeah, they're going to have to. But even then, I feel like we're going to hit $5 a gallon gas prices here in the next, like, 3 months.
Yeah, you
I
think
could be
so,
wrong.
bro?
Yeah, man. I think by summer we hit $5 a gallon. Could be wrong, man. They'll open the reserves, they'll do stuff, but that's only going to go so far. And then what's going to happen is that, so things like nitrogen, for whatever reason, we get a lot of nitrogen from Russia. That impacts sort of soil, which impacts food, so food prices go up.
Right.
And so there's all these like this domino effect that happens because they did this, because now we're going like, well, fuck, we can't trade with Russia. So we're going like, well, now we got to go over here, or maybe it's more expensive, or we don't have enough of it, so we have to raise the price. Like supply and demand, right? So this hurts their economy, but it also hurts everyone else's
Everybody
just
else's.
as much, man.
And like we've already been having issues with the supply chain, right? And so if gas prices goes up, that increases prices on everything.
Everything, dude.
Gallon of milk.
Everything,
Bread,
because
like
you need
whatever.
plastic, right? And plastic is built off of petroleum. And like everything gets impacted by the price of oil. So it hurts. Like it will hurt them long term, longer, because I think they're I don't know, bro. They're decades from recovering from this. But everyone else in the short term, in the next year, we're fucked in terms of like oil prices and food and
Right.
and everything else. Like, yeah.
Did you see that it was like I don't know, it was like a video of a woman, sort of an old woman in Ukraine that was speaking with a Russian soldier, and she gave him sunflower seeds, and she basically told him like, your dead body will sprout sunflowers. I was like, man, if you come in as a soldier and some old lady tells you that, I'm having second thoughts
I'm saying-
about being over here.
Are you blowing her brains out?
Shut up, bitch.
Shut up. That's why we over here.
You know what though, man? As I watch this, I go like, man, this is because my kids were asking me about it, and I go like, man, it's the equivalent, in my eyes, of Florida defecting, right? Or any state, but
Yeah.
I go Florida because I live here. Florida defecting for a period of 30 years, and then the U.S. going like, nah, like you didn't really defect correctly, and then the government, because the Russian government is not telling their people that, we just want the land back. They're telling them like, hey, there's that like their government is corrupt. They got Nazis over there. So we're going over as a peacekeeping mission. Oh, by the way, there's sections in Ukraine that are super like pro-Russia and they want to be a part of us. So we're going to go in there first. Right? And so
And they've taken advantage of the fact that there's been a civil war in the Ukraine because of that over the last however many years. Like
Right.
there's already been a war within the Ukraine because of that. So the Russia-Ukraine side, so to speak.
Yeah. And so I was telling my kids, like, if Florida defected at some point and then the U.S. wanted to take it back and like, I don't know, Jacksonville and Pensacola, right? Those areas were wanted to be part of the U.S. again. And so the U.S. kind of moved down through there. I don't know how I would feel as a soldier, a Marine, a sailor coming in, because I would go, fuck, man, like I got people down there. Like I got cousins and aunts and uncles and whatever else. I don't know how, and so like I empathize with. Yeah, it's like a civil war.
It's like the Civil War. Yeah.
And so you just go like, man, I don't. It's difficult to go like I'm like because you're not fighting like you don't want to. You almost want to go. You almost want to go in there as a soldier and go, yo, can we just like join? Like I don't want to kill anybody.
I don't want to kill anybody. Yeah.
Like I just want to join, but you have folks that are there that want to be a part of Russia, and so I don't know if I'm hoping that these peace talks, come to some sort of agreement, and maybe the agreement is that there's a large section of Ukraine that becomes part of Russia.
You can keep that region, and then,
right, and then the other part wants to stay free, man. Like, dude,
I don't know enough from a geopolitical or better like to know if that's possible or if it's on the table. Or I'm glad you brought up the sort of your kids thing and that, because like when I was thinking about this, man, and I was thinking about us doing this, my like thoughts were like to you as a soldier going, if you're the soldier, let's take Russia out of it for the moment, but in that scenario, if you're the U.S. and you're
can we correct it really quick, man? Marine. I'm sorry. Okay. Soldiers are from the Army.
I'm a civilian, sir. I don't know.
Thank you very much.
I'm a civilian, sir. We're not aware of this.
He's like, aren't you guys all on the same team?
All I know is that y'all the few and the proud.
That's right.
based on the commercials. But yeah, man. So like as a Marine, and going back to what you were saying before, if you're in the U.S. and you're like trying to get back Florida, like how like on both ends, right? If you're Florida and you're a soldier of Florida, like, and are you willing to go and die now to defend Florida? And then on the other side, like, you're getting orders and maybe you don't agree with them. Like, how convicted are you in your mission? Because you're like, yo, we're going in here, but these motherfuckers got guns too. Like, There's a good chance I could die. And so I think where I go back to like what I was saying before and like wanting to ask you that is because I feel like the thing to say as guys is like, nah, bro, I'm fighting. I'm doing this and that. But I go, nah, man, if it really comes down to it and I'm being honest with myself, there's certain scenarios where I'm like, yeah, I don't believe in that enough to be willing to die. Like there's things that maybe I'm willing to die from because I'm that convicted in them. I'm not that like Vladimir Putin is not the guy I'm willing to die for, but maybe those guys feel differently. Like maybe I won't even name a president because you won't be able to remove it doesn't matter. But like, yeah, you have to believe enough in your leader to be willing to go and die for him. Even if you're the invader or the invadee, like I don't even know if invadee is a word.
Yeah, man. I mean, like I don't. It's funny, man, because when I was in the military and I didn't see any wartime. Right, but the feeling that I had when I was in was I'm fighting for and with the guys that I serve with on a daily basis. There was never a time when I went like, matter of fact, like I was in during like the Clinton years. There was never a time where I went like, oh yeah, like whatever Bill says, I'm gonna go do. It was never that way, man. And so, you take orders from people way below Bill. Right. And again, I was in during those Clinton years. It was actually good years for military because it was good in the fact that it was a lot of peacetime. There was some bad financial moves
for sure
that Bill Clinton made, but regardless of that.
But if you're in the military, it was a good time.
Yeah.
In terms of peace. Peace, yeah.
Yep. And so looking at it from that perspective of going like, oh, I'm going to go take back Florida or, Texas or, whatever. I don't know. I don't think I would feel the same as if I was going over to fight sort of a foreign enemy.
Yeah, that has to be different. So now, because I thought about this as a parent too, like, in the Ukraine, they're telling people to stay back. And I'm going, am I willing to look at my son and go, hey, fight for this? Yo, we're about to get blown up. But, you got to die with pride and fight for this. We want to go down swinging. Like, am I willing to look my son in the eye and go, hey, yeah, you're like, yeah, let's go fight Russia, right? It's mass military power because we're going to defend this. And can I, with a straight face, look at him in the eye and go, like, Yeah, because we're trying to keep this. Like, I know, or I don't know, but there's a high likelihood, right? Like, if I'm a betting man, I'm going 70% chance we're all gonna die, right? Like, and so, am I willing to look at my kids,
Right.
and go,
If your kid goes, Dad, are we gonna die? Like, what's your answer?
yeah, like, nah, man, we got this. We got to stay and fight. Like, that's not the time, bro, for like the rah rah. Like, I feel like that's the time to go. There's a really good chance, son, we will, or daughter, or whoever. Like, we have to decide right now. Like, is this whole thing? Like, are we willing to, or should we just head over to Poland? Like, you know what I mean? Like, that's
No. It's true. But what if? So what if it's not just you and your son? Right now, you put like your whole family, and then your family and your family's friends, and all of y'all are together, and everybody's like, yo, we gotta fight. I think that it's all based on like it's not just pride. There's a feeling that comes along when the people that you know and love are willing to go and do something, and there's purpose behind it.
Yeah. I could see that, because I could see, like, if we go back to like the before the neighborhood, if I know all my neighbors are out there armed and they're fighting, I'm gonna be like, all right, fuck, man, I gotta do it, because like I could potentially get bullied into it that way.
And it's not even bullying, man. It's like
It's
it's the guy, you know, like your neighbor down the street that came over and fixed your fucking plumbing the other day, and then the other neighbor cuts your grass, and then the other dude, you know, when you guys were in hard times, he brought you over fucking milk and eggs. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
it's that, man. I think it's really that, and I think that's what being in the military shows you, that sort of that brotherhood and that camaraderie when you get around people like that and you go like, yo, we're all in this together and we have a common enemy and we're gonna go fight.
It's funny, man, because like in the same like thought, right, I had, like, for whatever reason, it's made me think of like the invasion of Germany and sort of in World War II.
Yep.
Mostly like within Germany, obviously, but like going in and sort of seeking out Jews, right? And I thought of like, if one of my neighbors was Jewish and they were hiding in my house, or they asked like, hey man, they're down the street, like, can I hide in your basement or whatever? Like, would I be willing to do that at sort of the risk of my life? And I kept thinking, like, when I put my kids in the equation, I would want my kids to know, like, so the flip side of that is like, yo, do I dime them out and they die, and for the rest of my life my kids go like, fuck, man, I just saw my neighbor get murdered because my dad like saw that? Like, in that scenario, I feel like I would definitely try to protect them, because if I died, I feel like knowing my kids saw me die for that and go like, damn, my dad stood up for that, and like that was cool, like he took one for those guys, like that's the kind of man like I sort of like look up to.
See,
like,
that's what it's a feeling, bro.
It's a feeling, bro. And
It
so
is.
in that scenario, I could justify like going like, no, I would absolutely help them hide, right? Like, I wouldn't even think twice. I would help them hide. I would, like, because like the humanitarian in me goes, no, I can't, I gotta try, right? Then the rational part of me in this like war thing goes like, fuck, you just want my house? Like, I can move, bro. Like, I don't really want it that bad. But I think it changes, like to your point, in that like you could sort of build up a pride within the neighborhood or the country or whatever, like,
absolutely, bro.
and go like, nah, man,
Where you
fuck
go
that, like, we're here,
that.
yeah,
They can't
Let's
come
go.
and take
Yeah.
this from us.
And maybe in that sense, you die full of adrenaline and hype this shit.
It makes it easier.
It's, bro, and there's so many layers to this, man, where I like, obviously it's a shitty time for the people in the Ukraine, man. And like, I don't even want to get into like what, I don't know that I have an opinion on whether it's right or wrong. I know it's wrong for people to be sort of murdered, right? Like, I know it's wrong for, like, I feel like there's kids going to school right now in the Ukraine and they're like in bunkers, and like I know that stuff's wrong. It feels wrong, right? Like, so I can sort of say from that perspective, it doesn't feel right. I don't know that I can sit here as an American and go, Vladimir Putin is wrong, because I don't know who gets to this. I like, morally, ethically, I can say he is right,
Yeah.
but like, if I have that, I have to have that same energy for America, right? Like, I have to say, hey, when we went into Iraq, we kind of sort of did the same thing under the guise of like, hey, we want to overturn your government because you guys deserve sort of like democracy, right? And so, yeah, so to the world, it looks like you guys are the good guys because they're doing this. But essentially, we're kind of doing the same thing. We're just handing it over to people that we like better to say, hey, you run this now. We ain't like Saddam. And we said, you got, these guys got weapons of mass destruction, potentially, that we never found, right? Like, I wasn't criticizing America for that, right? Like, or if I was, then I should. And
No,
I'm
but there's
criticizing Russia.
There's definitely cases where we can go back and look at American history,
Yeah.
and go like, oh, like you pushed out all the Native Americans from where they were living for Lord knows how many
Thousands of years,
right? Like who
probably, right?
knows?
Yeah.
And so we've done that within this own landmass that we call the United States. So definitely not pointing fingers.
No, because the world is full of conquerors, right?
Yeah.
So Gandhi, you say America to where, like the world has been full of conquerors, right? The Roman Empire.
Gandhi wasn't a conqueror, man. He's a
No, not
peaceful
God.
guy.
God, fuck. Who am
Talking
I?
about Genghis Khan.
Genghis Khan. Oh my god. I'm glad you corrected me, bro. Gandhi, peaceful as fuck.
God.
And I'm over here like Gandhi.
When you said Gandhi, I'm
Genghis
like
Khan.
the dude with the glasses.
You're so right. Yeah. Fuck.
That's that gin lemonade you drinking, bro.
Who's homeboy from South Africa, bro? Who's the?
Who was it? Fucking not Desmond Tutu.
No.
I know you're talking about.
Yeah, I was about to be like him. But nah, so anyway, like like the
Mandela.
world, yeah, Nelson Mandela, like the world is full of like people who've conquered, right? Like if you go back like Roman Empire, like Genghis Khan,
Yeah.
The United States. I don't even know who you could credit to like as a person for that one.
Oh, my
like,
God, you can't, no.
But like kings in UK, like in England, like so the world has been built.
Andrew Jackson.
Like
That's
the
true,
world's
bro.
been no, you're right. Like so the world's been built on that, but when we've looked at it, it's been through the lens of history, right? Like back then, right?
Right.
When it
We're not there anymore.
We're not there anymore. And so we forget that at the end of the day, bro, we're the people who did that. We're people, bro, and we're people now, right? And the difference is like we're sort of more interconnected, and so we find a way to sort of maybe find peace because we're not just rolling up in ships and suddenly just fucking up your all your you blowing up your village or whatever. Like we have the capability of talking to each other beforehand, I guess, and the world sort of lives on this like code of mutually agreed upon destruction, if you will, because like us and Russia, we're going, bro, if you pull the nuclear codes, like we will too, and everybody's fucking gone. So like
Right.
that's basically how we all survive, bro. It's like the only reason Russia doesn't fuck us up is because, like, oh, we die too. So that's literally how the whole world right now sort of stays at bay. It's like, if I blow you up, all of us are blown up. So we're going to agree to not blow each other up. But if we'd have been 200 years ago, bro, we'd have still been sending ships to go fuck people up because we want that piece of real estate. Like,
Yeah.
and so we haven't changed in that aspect, right? And so when I look at it from that perspective, I go, yeah, it's like, I don't know. It isn't any different than any other time in history, I guess, is how I'm looking at it. And it's not to justify him. I guess I don't know what the answer is, right? It looks fucked up from a humanitarian perspective, but I also don't know all the nuance and all this stuff. And I also feel like if I'm going to judge him, I got to judge America for everything they've done over the last 200 years, right? Like, going
Yeah.
back to the Mexico. I think you brought that up. We were talking, maybe it was off air. We were talking about the Texas thing and the New Mexico thing and all that stuff. Like, we just took that over and said, nah, we want it. And we just fucking massacred people.
Yeah, I want to say Texas. Just to keep a long story short, it's like Texas. The U.S. sort of bought Texas, and then there was a dispute over where the sort of the property line was, and then we went to war over the property line, and then in within that war took the property line where we wanted it to be, and then took Arizona and New Mexico and California. Still paid Mexico. I think they paid them like $10 million, but essentially we just took it,
bro. You never hear Mexicans asking for reparations.
Why you gotta bring that up? Just because Black History was over.
I think I don't know, man. I feel like it's fucked up, right? Like when you look at it, like I feel for the people in Ukraine and all that. I feel like as Americans, though, this is also a time where we got to look inwards and go, if we're going to be critical of that, we sort of maybe have to be critical of the things that got us where we are today as well.
Yeah, you might want to teach critical race theory.
Sean said that.
Just Just keeping it real.
I don't know if you heard, but in our state, that might be illegal. So
I'm not surprised.
you can't say that. You can't say that shit here, bro.
We'll call it CRT.
Yo, does that make it illegal for us because we're in Florida recording that you can't say that stuff at work? Is this technically work?
No,
This
no,
is a
we
nonprofit.
don't get paid. This is a nonprofit.
This is a nonprofit.
It's like a church.
It's nah, bro. We'd be rich. Wrong. If this is a church, we'd be doing this from a yacht right now or a private plane.
But no, man, like shout out to the Ukraine people. I mean, you guys are doing your thing and trying to defend your country, and you know the world is with you guys. Again, don't know what's right and what's wrong, but I would say that in this day and age, attacking an independent country just because you, I think in Putin's view, he feels like they became independent sort of like in an invalid way.
Yeah, and then he sees them as a threat because they're potentially joining the EU and NATO, and he's basically selling it to his people. Like, if that happens, these guys could potentially come for us, sort of thing. And like,
right. And you just wonder, man, like if Russia's still a very big country.
It's big as fuck, bro.
Right?
Like half of it is uninhabitable, right? Like,
Right. It's like Canada.
yeah, bro, go build some cabins, some vacation destinations like we do here. And yeah, it's like Canada, right? Like 75% of Canada can't nobody live in except for moose. What is there in
Moose and Eskimo.
What is there in Russia? Like caribou? What the fuck is it?
I don't know, man.
I
Fucking
don't know,
reindeer.
bro. Yo, if you're Vladimir Putin, though, like, bro, what's endgame here? And then, is there coming back from this? Like, do you have to remove? Does the world now move in on Vladimir Putin like the same way we did sort of with Saddam Hussein, right? And then who's going to be that guy?
And the thing is, so I think that now the latest things from the past week was countries are now sending ammunition, like
help them
missiles and stuff. Yeah, like to Ukraine.
Oh, and that's what I wanted to ask you about. Sorry, before when we were talking about you being a Marine, was so right there's this feeling right amongst people in America that go, why aren't we doing more? Or any country, right? Like any sort of westernized country in Europe, like, why aren't we doing more? Should we go in and help, right? Because if we go in and we start dropping bombs, maybe Russia sort of backs up and goes, oh, fuck, right? But are you willing to send your kids to go fight in a war that isn't your battle, right? Like, and that's sort of the other part that I wanted to talk to you about was, like, are you willing to go, like, yeah, let's go help these guys because we're sort of, we're big brother going to help out our little brother who's being bullied, sort of thing, or not? Like, who made us the world police? And then, like, at some point in time, dude, the scales are going to tip, right? Where we'll no longer be sort of the world power and someone's going to check us.
Right.
And so I think there's all these things that we have to take into account. Like, if we go and we bomb, like, we're giving ammunition, which I'm sure is going to cause sort of a political nightmare later on, or something in the relationships or the tensions there. If we go in and we provide soldiers, which I'm sure we are in the background somewhere, we're just not saying it.
No, I think what we're doing now is we're essentially lining up, and it's not just us, sort of NATO, right? It's sort of like lining up soldiers and stuff around or in the NATO countries that border that area.
Okay.
So basically going like, okay, like, we're going to put all these sanctions on you and everything, but if you move past Ukraine, like, it's on and popping.
But not, because Ukraine isn't in NATO, they won't go into NATO.
Correct.
So, but I guess, is doing that sort of like I don't want to say it's posturing because you're going, they're never going to go past that, right? Like, they only want Ukraine. They didn't say we want Europe, right? Like, or we want Belarus, or we want, I guess there's nothing stopping them from doing that. Yeah.
Look at Hitler, right? So is Putin our modern day Hitler, where he's going to go like, oh, like, yep, we got this, and now I want to push past this and get this other piece of land. Like, you don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. No one knows what his deal is, and I know that he has people on the interior, like his sort of like inner group that is going, hey, like, we don't really agree with this. They've got multiple protests in the capital, right, in Moscow, and so the people are not agreeing with it. And then now, since all the financial hits, the people have got to be like, hey, man, like, what the fuck? We were fine without them. Like, leave them alone.
Dude, I almost thought of, like, because I can kind of make an argument for or against. Like, if I'm the U.S., right, and we go, maybe you let the people vote on something like this, or the soldiers, and you go, hey man, do you want to go help? Right. And then I went, if we say, hey, yes, you go help, do you open up the pool to say let Marines and let the Navy and let the Army guys go sign up for, like, hey, do you want to go help the Ukraine? And maybe that way I'd feel sort of like, okay, like, cool, like, these people are willing to help and they're willing to put their life on the line for sort of this cause instead of us forcing them into this war. Because whenever I think of, like you're in the Marines, right? If you know, your commanding officer, whoever goes like, yep, bro, we're going to go help Ukraine tomorrow, you have to essentially go fight in a war and potentially die for something that has nothing to do with you. And so you could think of, like, I guess there's two ways to look at it. Is like, yeah, fuck, there's nothing to do with me and I'm about to die. Or, hey, I'm doing it to help some, like I guess someone who's being bullied, because we look at as Russia as sort of the bully, and Ukraine, like, right, doesn't have the military might maybe, or even the capital or whatever. Like, so, like, I guess my thought is, like, how can you, who determines, I guess, who should be the ones to sort of stand up for people, and then is there an obligation because we have sort of this might to sort of step in, and then who gets to call that shot? Like, I don't know, like, in the world, like, who checks us, right? Like, I go, like, yo, if America steps in, yeah, we could probably end this. It might lead to a lot of terrible shit, like a lot of lives lost for sure on the both civilian and sort of military side, but, like, then who checks us? Like, I think the problem is like, then does China step in when we get out of line? Like, when we go into Iraq, how cool would we have been if China goes like, nah, bro, like, we're going to go back up Saddam, or we're going to back up, you know, like, I think it happened in Afghanistan, right? Like, with Russia, didn't Russia and Afghanistan, there was a whole thing there where sort of they...
Right, so to go back a little history, right? Afghanistan, Russia was, I don't know what they're trying to do, whether they were trying to take over or whatever, but the Afghanistan people were fighting against Russia, and we were giving them weapons. And then the same folks that we were giving weapons to became the enemy of the state at some point, and that was like Bin Laden and them.
Right?
No, and it was, and then we ended up, you know, obviously seeking them out. But enemy of the state could change day to day.
Depends on what we're
and
after.
Right. So like if we, you know, if it is in our best interest, and again, I think that the what's being fed to us is that this is what Russia's doing is morally wrong.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? Yeah. And I don't disagree with that.
Yep. Absolutely.
But I do wonder, and I'm skeptical about, you know, what does it mean if Russia takes over Ukraine? Is there financial impact to the U.S.? Is there, you know, I don't know. Can we no longer get this cheap thing that we get from Ukraine right now? Again, I don't know what that is.
Yeah, we're going to find out later on that there was something.
Right.
No, and actually, I don't think there's anything, because I think we would have been involved.
We would have been involved.
Yeah, there's no way we would have let this happen in the first place. I think if there was something to be gained, like Iraq or like Afghanistan, right? Like, so I think, yeah, y'all better find oil in the Ukraine and we'll come through.
Gotta get that oil.
You got so I think for me, like, going back to you, like, I don't have trouble saying, like, I feel like it's morally wrong. I think where I have trouble is like, as criticizing motives. I think that's where I sort of fall into this whole, like, I think it's fucked up. I think it's wrong. I feel for the people of Ukraine, man. It's shitty. I can't imagine waking up tomorrow.
It's always bad for the citizens.
It's fucking terrible, bro. Dude, I've seen videos of people from, like, their IGs, and they're like out their window of their apartment building or their house, and there's a missile that goes by and blows up the building next door, and I'm like, holy fuck, I can't even imagine what that's like, dude. Bro. But, like, so from that perspective, I'm like, this shit's horrible, man, and I hope they come to some sort of agreement, whatever that is, that just ends, like, just senseless, or the loss of life, man, senselessly. But the I guess the flip side of that to me is I just feel I can't be critical of the motive. I don't know what it is, and I feel like if I'm that, as an American, I have to be critical of all the shit we do. And so it sort of feels like the glass house thing, right? Going like, Russia, you guys are fucked up. And then, you know, I feel like someone's going to go, yeah, but, you know what I'm so like, right. Because again, we're the heroes in our story, right? But we're the villains in someone else's.
Yep.
And so I think, and maybe this whole environment that we're in, because the internet makes you feel like you have to care about everything. I feel like I can't take a side, and or I'm going to be sort of like ripped apart online or whatever for that. But like, I think if I sit and think about it, you know, like, as a person, I feel like it's wrong. As an American, I feel like, well, fuck, man. Like, I can't really sit here on my high horse and rip Russia apart because I enjoy the fruits of what being an American is because we did similar shit. So, like, I don't know, man. I struggle with that part, and I never thought I would. I thought I'd always be like, yeah, fuck that. These guys are wrong. But the older I've gotten, I think I've understand that like progress takes in anything, man, whether it's medical or politically or just capitalistically or whatever, man. Humanity, there's sacrifices along the way that suck, and I'm not calling the Ukrainian people a sacrifice. I'm just saying there's shitty things that happen along the way that you wouldn't have gotten this without that. And maybe this is the this without that later on, or not, man. Maybe this is something just senseless, like maybe this is the Hitler, like you said, or whatever else. We just don't know, right? Like
I will say, man, that I've gotten sort of a good feeling about the entire world almost like condemning it, and then even China at this point, who is friends with Russia, right? They're sort of communist comrades, if you will. They've stayed pretty quiet. Which is odd, right? Which is kind of odd to me. Where they might have been like, "Well, wait a minute, man. Like these fuckers really went and did that shit."
Bro, China's like we were talking before. Like, yo, China's the friend you go with at the club. He starts drinking. He starts talking shit about that dude. Like, bro, he bumped me, bro. I'm about to fuck your man's guy. And then you start gassing him up. Like, yeah, bro, I got you. Da. But you thinking y'all just talking shit. And then he goes over and punches him. And a whole brawl breaks loose. And you're like, oh, fuck, you were serious, bro? I feel like that's China right now going like, yo, we were just talking shit, bro. We didn't know y'all was going to pop off.
Russia coming back there like, China, where y'all at, man? I'm getting beat up.
Yeah, we in there, bro. We in there. We got a couple lumps in, bro. We in there, bro. We need help.
China like, yo, man, I was just playing.
You're right.
I didn't think y'all was really gonna do that shit.
I feel like from a globally, collectively, even Switzerland or
Switzerland,
whatever,
man, like
stepping in.
They don't get involved in anything, bro.
Dude. They're the neutral, right? Like we have sayings behind that, right? Like I'm Switzerland. So,
yep.
Like I think that gives me sort of, I guess, comfort in going like, yeah, me feeling like this is shitty is right.
It's probably right.
But I can't help but to wonder if our status as America, would anyone ever call us out? You know what I mean? Like with Iraq or Afghanistan or any other. Dude, I feel like we're the kings of doing shit silently. Like we may not roll in with tanks and blow your whole shit up like we did.
Drones.
Yeah, exactly. Like we're the kings of doing shit like that where you're like, oh man, fuck, man, we haven't heard from so-and-so in a while. Like whatever happened to them? Like, so I do feel like this whole thing is wrong, but I do feel like I can't say that without going, yeah, we probably have to put a lens under all the other shit that we've done and how we got to where we got to today. Like, I don't know, man. Like the whole,
you know what, it would be good for the U.S. at some point to go, here's our history. Here's the things that we don't agree with that we did in our history, but here's how we're moving forward.
See, legal, bro. See, legal, bro. But it is what it is, right? Like to your point, like, hey, man, we did this. We murdered this. We did that. We did like we're not proud of that. Like, but
right.
That's what happened.
Right.
Are we giving it back? Nope.
No.
But
here's, like, here's how we're moving forward.
But here's how I'm moving forward. Like, here's what we're trying to do. We're not trying to invade, or we're not trying to do this, or like, you know, whatever. I don't know. I also feel like the world is such a big place, and there's so much nuance and so much complexity that we'll never understand as people because there's just so many things that happen behind the scenes and so many little things that, dude, Vladimir Putin, one guy, we're talking about this before, this one guy could potentially change the course of the next century for Russia, for that entire region,
and possibly the world, man.
And possibly the world, exactly. Like this one guy makes one choice and he potentially changes the course of human history in certain aspects. And I don't feel like that's an over exaggeration because I feel like his decisions are going to have snowball effects and domino effects like that will lead to other things that would have never happened because of this. Some of them are going to be good.
Yeah.
Some of them are going to be bad, right? Like there may be an invasion and maybe Russia does become Ukraine, right? And 200 years from now, there's a family sitting there going, I would never be here if it wasn't for this invasion.
Right.
Right. But there could also be a Chernobyl where you go, I can't live in this fucking place for however long because they blew this shit up with a nuke. Like, you know, you just don't know. You just don't know, I guess. So
yeah, no, it's true. How we doing on time,
bro? We're an hour 19 in.
Listen, man,
we knew this shit was.
I just want to congratulate you on your carbon footprint took the whole fucking show.
I knew it, bro. It's the first time ever. I think this shit takes the whole thing. And Zelensky, shout out to Zelensky, bro.
Listen,
come on the show in the middle of taking out shrapnel from your legs or whatever.
For those of y'all that stayed with us, congratulations.
For real. Sorry.
Dude, I gotta hit you up at least with this one story before we get the hell out of here.
Let's go.
There are Olympics going on, by the way.
Is there?
Yeah, Winter Olympics, man.
Oh fuck.
They're in China. They're in China. But there was a story this week, man. This Finland skier Remy Lindholm froze his dick off while doing the cross country ski event. So this dude
off like off?
No, he didn't freeze it off.
Okay. He got frostbite on the
I'm
dick,
exaggerating. Right? So this is a 50-kilometer race. Dude, because of the conditions, which was it was like 1 degree with like 40-mile-an-hour winds, which puts the wind chill at like a negative 26. They shortened the race from 50 kilometers to 30, so they cut down 20 kilometers. This dude basically had to come off, get like a heat pack, and put it on his penis to thaw it out.
Bro, they don't got Snuggies for dicks? Because this is a thing. I saw when I saw the story, it happens all the time.
Well, it happened to this guy before.
Yes, it's like his.
It was like
more than once.
like a year ago.
I think more than twice it's happened to him.
Oh,
Dude,
I only saw once.
This guy said it's happened a few times, but evidently with these like winter athletes like that, it's a thing. And then with people who live in cold regions, fucking Eskimos or whatever, it's a thing. Like,
dude,
very normal.
Couldn't you have like a nationalist over there, like to warm it up, with human body?
Yeah, bro. Tom Brady got a hand warmer in his uniform thing. You don't got a dick warmer now, bro. You don't got like something you could just shove your penis in and then just.
I figure you could use like a thick Latina to warm that up.
Joe, true story. Good callback to the old thing. Yo, you right, bro. Nobody's signing up to like, yo, let me get a dip, warm it up real quick, pull it back.
What's our temperature? 98.7.
You know why pussy's so warm, right?
No,
because they from hell. Send here to torture us.
I feel like you could have put it in one of those and just like thought it out nicely.
Yeah, bro, you could lava rock something, bro. You could put something on top of that bitch. Bro, if I get my dick frozen once, like frostbite on some accident shit, guess what I'm not letting happen again, bro? I'm not letting my dick get frozen, bro. I'm wrapping that bitch in something.
Or you go like, I've been in these glitches before. Yeah. Not for nothing. So the dude placed 28th.
I didn't even know they had that many places, bro.
You wasn't even close to winning.
You walked.
You could have stopped at 10 kilometers.
What was this again?
It was a cross-country skiing.
Oh, was he last? Tell me that. I didn't even know there was that many people in cross-country skiing, bro.
I don't know, bro. I know he was
28th?
28th place, bro.
Do you even finish the race at that point? What's the point? You're not going to medal.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like once you realize that you're that far back and your dick is hurting,
yeah, I'm out.
Just be out.
I'm out, bro. I'm not worth fighting for.
You ain't got no neighbors to fight for, no house, no garden, kids, nothing. Just exit the race.
Yo, imagine how productive you must be as a man if you didn't have a dick. Maybe that's the future of our species.
That must be a horrible existence.
We'd all die off soon, but still, we'd be real productive while we're here. Bro, that shit is so horrible, bro. Yo, I didn't even know. The Olympics, bro, it's like, I had no idea they were even going on until it was almost like over, and it was because like I think it was this story.
Is it over
or some shit? I think so, man. I don't know, bro. It should be.
The last time I checked, they were doing curling.
Everything in it,
everything's fucking curling.
It's curling or like, hey, can you ride this piece of wood on snow? Either on 2 pieces of wood or 1 piece of wood or in a tube of wood or like, and it's all just like rich people trying to feel good about like their athletic prowess. Like,
can we just do away with winter?
It's
winter
fucking
Olympics?
terrible, bro. There's nobody, bro. I've yet to see an Olympic event other than maybe like obviously those skiing, some of the snowboarders where I didn't feel like I couldn't do that. Bro, like the bobsledding is the dumbest shit in the fucking world. You're on a track that you can't get off of. Like you just push it really fast and jump in.
and hope you don't flip over.
Yeah, but it's on a track and a tube. It's like going down a water slide.
But they have flipped over.
Yeah, but it's hard, like, to flip it over. You know what I'm saying? Like, bro, you ever been down a slide at, like, a water park? And you're like, I'll race you down, and you're all going down a tube, and you have no fucking control. You hope you get a good push off the gate, and that's it, bro. The water and gravity does its thing.
Yeah.
That's bobsledding,
The
bro.
big guy always wins.
Yeah, exactly. Bobsledding, just be real fast and slightly fat. And you good, bro. Like, you have no control. Like, I see that they can steer it. I'm like, there's nowhere to
Oh, they
fucking
can?
go. Yeah, they have, like, a little thing to steer it, but
So
it
that
literally
must be
goes
it.
up a wall, bro.
Yeah, but that must be it.
But how impressive is that? You're a fucking marble going down a slide, like,
Bro, I want to see what the ratings
or
are
in a
for this thing.
straw. It has to be bad. I don't know shit,
Like I
bro.
say, I didn't really
They keep
watch.
having them, right? So something. But I go, dude, the minute they start playing any of these fucking Winter Olympic games anywhere where there's a ghetto, you guys are fucked. Like this, it's all rich people, bro. It's all rich. Like, to ski, you got to be rich. To snowboard, you got to be rich. To bobsled, I wouldn't even know where to go to find that. Like, curling?
Ah, but the snowboard, I mean, are they expensive?
No, but you need access to snowboarding, right? You need access to a mountain, and you got to pay. And you got to pay
for
fees for
that.
the lift.
Yeah, that's
you ever
true.
seen what a lift pass costs for a day,
No.
bro? It's a few $100s, and in some places, it's a few grand per day.
Get the fuck
Few hundred
outta
per day, few grand per day.
Yeah.
To go. Dude, that's why.
So
yeah.
basically, they haven't really gotten the cream of the
Yeah,
crop of
that-
athletes.
That's why us poor folk, bro, we get on a trash can lid and we slide ourselves down a hill in the snow. We don't do none of this shit.
It's just as fun.
It's just, yeah, bro. Did they ever pull you on something when it was snowing in New York when you were growing up? What'd y'all do in the snow? Snowball fight?
Yep.
Yeah, put that shit in the Olympics, bro. Every kid from Harlem winning. Fucking Winter Olympics, bro. I'm like, it's the dumbest shit, bro. I don't know, man. Shaun White's still doing it at like 49. The fuck
Yeah,
outta
but
here,
he's
bro.
done.
Yeah, he should be.
He lost.
Yeah, but he came close to medaling top
Yeah,
3.
yeah,
Any
yeah.
sport where like a 50-year-old can medal top 3, it ain't hard enough, bro. I'm sorry.
All right, man. On that note, tell them where they can find us.
Yeah, man, if you are not following us already at the Carbon Football Podcast on Instagram, on Facebook, at Carbon Football Podcast on TikTok, and your favorite streaming platforms, man, all of it. Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, TuneIn, JioSaavn, Ghana, Pocket Cast, Radio Cast, Amazon Music, all of them, man. So go check
There's
us
a
out.
radio cast?
Google. Yeah, man, evidently so. The Radio
I have
Cast.
not heard of that.
We're on it, too. And also, man, if you're on Facebook, you can actually listen to the podcast through Facebook. So if that's your jam, it's actually embedded on our page. You can subscribe to it and listen to it through Facebook. So check that out, man. It's a new
that's
feature
cool.
Facebook launched in the last couple months. So yeah, man, check that out, man. It's
Yeah, that and the Amazon shit. Right, so you get Alexa to play us too.
yeah, everybody got an Alexa now, man. Just tell her to play the Carbon Football Podcast. She'll do it, man. So matter of fact, just tell her to play episodes 1 through 91. Let it ride.
See you in a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
Yo, as always, we appreciate you guys, and if you stay with us through this whole damn Ukraine
Yo, for real.
segment, God bless you. They're not all like that.
All they know is they don't want Juan as a neighbor.
Don't worry, I'm gonna convince them before we get out of here. All right, everybody, we'll see you next week.
See you next week.
Peace.
Peace.